The impossible maneuver. Captain Maya Chen never intended to start an interstellar war. The 32-year-old test pilot had simply been following orders, pushing the experimental Sunhawk fighter beyond its designed limits. But what happened that day in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter would forever change humanity's place in the galaxy. The year was 2189, nearly 60 years since Earth had made first contact with the galactic hegemony. Humans had been welcomed into the interstellar community with patronizing smiles and technological handouts. The 17 species that comprised the hegemony treated humanity like an amusing curiosity. Primitive newcomers to be studied and guided, but never truly respected. Maya stared out the viewport of her quarters aboard the EDF Armstrong, watching the stars shift as the carrier adjusted its position at the edge of the test zone. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight regulation bun, and her weathered flight suit bore the patches of dozens of successful test flights. On her desk sat a small hologram of her daughter Lily, who had just celebrated her 5th birthday. Maya touched the projection gently, causing the image to ripple. "Captain Chen to the briefing room," announced the ship's eye. Captain Chen to the briefing room. Admiral Takahashi was waiting when she arrived, along with 3 representatives from Earth Defense Force Intelligence. The briefing room's lights dimmed as a holographic display of the asteroid field materialized above the table. "Tomorrow's demonstration is critical," Takahashi said without preamble. His silver-streaked hair and the deep lines around his eyes spoke of decades of service. "The hegemony delegation will be watching closely. 7 species are sending representatives." "Including the Oravians?" Maya asked. Takahashi nodded grimly. "Yes. Our friends from Oravi Prime are particularly interested in your flight test. The Oravians have been the most condescending of all hegemony species toward humans. As the oldest spacefaring civilization in known space, they had appointed themselves the guardians of proper technological development. The Galactic Concordat they had authored, and forced Earth to sign as a condition of interstellar trade, specifically prohibited less advanced species from developing certain military technologies. "The quantum fold drive remains classified," said one of the intelligence officers, a thin woman with close-cropped hair. "The official record shows your Sunhawk is testing improved conventional thrusters." "Nothing more." Maya nodded. She understood the stakes. For 20 years, Earth had chafed under the restrictions of the Concordat. While hegemony warships patrolled human space for our protection, Earth was allowed only minimal defensive capabilities. The quantum fold drive, allowing instantaneous micro-jumps within tactical combat range, was humanity's secret ace. "Just fly the course as planned," Takahashi said. "Show enough to demonstrate the fighter's agility, but not enough to reveal the true capabilities of the drive." After the briefing, Maya found her flight engineer, Lieutenant Raj Patel, in the hangar bay running final checks on the Sunhawk. "How's she looking?" Maya asked, running her hand along the sleek black hull of the fighter. The craft was barely larger than the fighters of the previous century, but its capabilities were exponentially greater. "Perfect," Raj replied with a broad smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "The fold capacitors are charged to 100%, and the quantum matrix is stable. She's ready to dance." Maya climbed into the cockpit and settled into the neural interface chair that would link her directly to the fighter systems. She had spent thousands of hours in simulation, practicing the delicate art of quantum dancing, her personal term for the rapid series of micro-jumps that allowed the fighter to appear almost everywhere at once. "Get some rest," she told Raj. "Tomorrow's going to be interesting." The observation vessel, containing the hegemony delegation, maintained a respectful distance from the test area. 7 alien representatives, plus their aides and security, watched with varying degrees of interest as Maya's Sunhawk approached the field of training drones. "Sunhawk in position," Maya reported. "Beginning demonstration in 30 seconds." The first phase went exactly as planned. The fighter wove through the asteroid field with conventional thrusters, demonstrating agility that was impressive, but not suspiciously so. The hegemony observers watched with the detached interest of adults watching a child's sporting event. Phase 1 complete, Maya confirmed. Moving to Phase 2. That's when everything changed. On her tactical display, Maya watched as 24 combat drones unexpectedly deployed from behind a larger asteroid. Unlike the simple target drones that had been authorized for the demonstration, these were armed with actual energy weapons. Sunhawk, we're detecting unauthorized drone activation. Armstrong Control's voice crackled through her comms. Demonstration terminated. Return tow. The transmission cut off as the first volley of energy beams sliced through space toward her fighter. Aboard the observation vessel, the Oravian representative, Subarchon Keleth, turned to his associates. His iridescent scales shimmered in the dim light of the observation deck. A proper test of capability requires proper stakes, he said, his translator rendering his clicking speech into stilted English. The human pilot will demonstrate whether their species truly deserves consideration for advanced status. Maya had milliseconds to decide. The routine evasive maneuvers in her flight plan would be insufficient against this many combat drones. Either she would reveal the quantum fold technology, or she would die. She chose to live. Armstrong, this is Sunhawk. Going defensive, Maya announced, then engaged the quantum fold drive. The Sunhawk disappeared from normal space. Every sensor on the observation vessel showed nothing for a split second. Then Maya's fighter materialized directly between two combat drones, causing them to collide as they tried to acquire her as a target. Before they could recover, she folded again, appearing behind another drone and destroying it with a quick burst from her conventional weapons. On the observation deck, silence fell as the hegemony representatives watched in disbelief. Maya wasn't just flying. She was warping the very fabric of space-time, turning it into both weapon and shield. The Sunhawk would appear in one location just long enough to fire, then vanish before return fire could connect, reappearing elsewhere to strike again. What is this technology? Demanded the Tellarite ambassador, his tendrils quivering in agitation. This violates the Concordat. The Oravian subarchon remained silent, his compound eyes fixed on the tactical display as Maya executed 17 quantum folds in under 12 seconds, an impossible feat according to all known physics. When the last drone exploded, Maya brought the Sunhawk to a stop, the craft's hull glowing from the spatial distortion caused by the rapid folding. Demonstration complete, she transmitted, Sunhawk returning to Armstrong. As she docked with the carrier, Maya knew that nothing would be the same. She had revealed humanity's greatest secret to save herself from what was clearly a deliberate attempt to eliminate her. The implications were too profound to ignore. Within hours, the Oravian delegation had filed a formal protest with the Hegemony Council. The humans have developed prohibited quantum displacement technology, they claimed. This represents a grave threat to galactic security. Maya found herself summoned to an emergency meeting with Admiral Takahashi and Earth's top military leadership. The atmosphere was tense, but not as negative as she had feared. You did what you had to do, Takahashi told her. But the Oravians have demanded we surrender all quantum fold research and dismantle every prototype, including your Sunhawk. And if we refuse? Maya asked. Then we face sanctions at minimum, replied Defense Minister Cheo, her face grim on the holographic display from Earth, or military action at worst. They tried to kill me out there, Maya stated flatly. That was no accident. Those combat drones were programmed to eliminate the Sunhawk. We know, Takahashi said. It was a test, but not the one we planned. They wanted to see if we truly had the full technology. Now they know. So what do we do? The defense minister leaned forward. We've been preparing for this possibility for years, Captain. The quantum fold is not our only secret. Tell me, how many pilots in Earth defense could replicate what you did today? With proper training. Perhaps 300 across the fleet, Maya replied. Good, because I think we're about to need every one of them. 3 days later, An Oravian battlecruiser destroyed an unarmed human research station orbiting Neptune. The message was clear: surrender the forbidden technology, or face extinction. What the Oravians didn't understand was that Maya's performance wasn't just a demonstration of technology. It was a glimpse into humanity's unique approach to warfare, where hegemony species had fought according to rigid doctrines for millennia. Humans brought chaos, improvisation, and intuition to battle. When the Oravian fleet arrived at Earth's doorstep, they expected to find a handful of hastily armed civilian ships. Instead, they encountered 300 fighters, each equipped with quantum fold drives, each piloted by someone trained in Maya's techniques. The first battle lasted less than 20 minutes. The Oravians lost 27 ships without destroying a single human vessel. Maya stood on the bridge of the Armstrong, watching the tactical display as the remaining Oravian ships retreated in disarray. "They'll be back," Takahashi said quietly. "And not alone next time." Maya nodded, thinking of her daughter back on Earth. "Then we better be ready," she replied. "Because this isn't just about the quantum fold anymore. This is about humanity's right to exist as equals." Across the solar system, production facilities that had been hidden beneath the surfaces of moons and asteroids began activating, revealing the true extent of humanity's secret preparations. Earth had been planning for this day since the signing of the Concordat. The war for humanity's future had begun. Humanity ascendant. The Hegemony Council chambers on Oravi Prime fell silent as the holographic display showed the destruction of their fleet at Earth. The 17 representatives of the most powerful species in known space watched in stunned disbelief as human fighters executed maneuvers that defied conventional physics. Supreme Archon Zelphos of the Oravians slammed his armored appendage against the ancient stone table. "This cannot stand," he declared, scales flashing crimson with rage. "The humans have concealed weapons development in direct violation of the Concordat." "Perhaps," replied Nava Sorrento, the human ambassador to the hegemony, "you should consider that the Concordat was never an agreement between equals, but a tool to keep emerging species subjugated." She stood alone before the council, unflinching despite the hostile glares. "Earth did not start this conflict. We merely defended ourselves against unprovoked aggression." "You will surrender your quantum technology immediately," Zelphos demanded. Ambassador Sorrento straightened her diplomatic uniform. "I'm afraid that's not possible. Instead, I am instructed to inform you that Earth hereby withdraws from the Galactic Concordat, effective immediately." Gasps and angry murmurs filled the chamber. No species had ever dared to withdraw from the Concordat in the 12,000 years of its existence. "Then you leave us no choice," Zelphos declared. "The hegemony hereby declares a state of war exists between our coalition and Earth. You have 3 standard days to surrender or face annihilation." Back in the Sol system, Captain Maya Chen stood before 200 pilots in the Armstrong's main hangar bay. These men and women represented Earth's best hope, the newly formed Quantum Squadron. "What you're about to learn can't be found in any manual," Maya explained, pacing before the assembled pilots. "The quantum fold is more than technology. It's a state of mind." The pilots watched intently as holographic displays showed Maya's encounter with the Oravian drones. "Notice I'm not just making random jumps," she continued. "Each fold is precisely calculated to create maximum confusion in enemy targeting systems. We call this quantum dancing, and by the time we're done, each of you will be dancers." Lieutenant Commander Jackson Wade raised his hand. The grizzled veteran had more combat experience than anyone else in the room. "With respect, Captain, what you did out there seems impossible to replicate. The neural load of calculating those jump patterns would overwhelm most pilots." Maya nodded. "That's why we've developed this." She held up what appeared to be a standard neural interface helmet, but with additional connections. "The quantum neural enhancement. It doesn't think for you, but it expands your brain's natural ability to visualize 4-dimensional space-time." For the next 48 hours, the pilots trained relentlessly in simulators. Some adapted quickly to the quantum dancing technique, while others struggled with the counterintuitive nature of combat across multiple points in spacetime simultaneously. During a rare break, Maya found herself staring at the hologram of her daughter again. Admiral Takahashi entered her quarters without knocking. "We've received intelligence," he said without preamble. "The hegemony has assembled a fleet of over 500 vessels. They'll arrive within 36 hours. Maya closed her eyes briefly. "How many operational fighters do we have with fold capability?" 327. Takahashi replied. "Plus the Armstrong and 7 other carriers equipped with defensive fold systems." "It won't be enough," Maya said quietly. "No," Takahashi agreed. "It won't, unless we can somehow turn their numbers against them." Maya's eyes snapped open. "That's it. Their numbers. Their coordination. What are you thinking, Captain? The hegemony species have fought the same way for thousands of years. They rely on overwhelming force and perfect formation. Their combat doctrine hasn't changed because it's never needed to." Maya activated the tactical display in her quarters. "But what if we could use their own formations against them?" When the hegemony war fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, it was the largest assembly of military might in centuries. Ships from 12 species formed a wall of destructive potential never before witnessed in human space. Fleet Marshal Corvin of the militaristic Drazeri species commanded from the dreadnought Inevitable Dominance. His species had joined the Oravians eagerly in this punitive expedition, seeing an opportunity to expand their influence within the hegemony. "No response to our final surrender demand," reported his communications officer. "As expected," Corvin replied, his leathery face impassive. "Deploy into standard engagement formation. All forward batteries prepare to fire on my command." The massive fleet arranged itself into the classic hegemony battle formation, a 3-tiered assault wall that had broken enemy fleets for millennia. "Sir," called out the sensor officer, "human vessels detected approaching from Mars orbit. Fighter class, approximately 300 units." Corvin almost allowed himself a smile. "So few. They send their fighters against us. Admirable courage, but futile. Prepare point defense systems." The human fighters approached in a loose formation that seemed almost random to hegemony tactical officers. No logical pattern could be discerned in their approach. "Targeting solutions acquired," reported the weapons officer. "Fire at will," Corvin ordered. Thousands of energy beams lanced out from the hegemony ships and hit nothing but empty space. The human fighters had vanished, only to reappear scattered throughout the hegemony formation. Aboard the Sunhawk, Maya led the first wave of attacks. "All units, execute Quantum Dance Pattern Alpha," she commanded. "Remember your training. Don't stay in one place longer than half a second." The space around Jupiter's orbit transformed into chaos as human fighters executed their quantum dancing techniques. They would appear, fire, and vanish before defensive systems could lock on. The massive hegemony vessels, designed to fight at a distance in coordinated formations, suddenly found enemies materializing within their defensive perimeters. "Impossible," Corvin shouted as 3 Drazeri cruisers exploded simultaneously, caught in their own crossfire while trying to target a fighter that had appeared between them. The elegant hegemony battle formation disintegrated into confusion. Ships fired desperately at phantom targets, often hitting their allies instead. The humans had turned the hegemony's greatest strength, its rigid coordination, into a fatal weakness. Maya's fighter danced through the chaos, leading the squad of 12 advanced pilots in attacking the Inevitable Dominance directly. They executed synchronized fold jumps, appearing and disappearing around the massive dreadnought in patterns that confused its defensive targeting systems. "Shields failing," reported Corvin's defensive officer. "We've lost stabilizers on the port side." "Retreat," Corvin ordered, his voice hollow with disbelief. "All ships, emergency hyperspace jump." But retreat wasn't as simple as he hoped. The human carriers had positioned themselves strategically, using their own larger-scale fold technology to disrupt hyperspace jump points. Many hegemony vessels found their escape routes blocked, forcing them to remain and fight. 2 hours after the battle began, it was over. The largest hegemony war fleet in centuries had been decimated. Over 300 vessels destroyed or captured, with the remainder retreating in disarray. Maya landed her fighter on the Armstrong's deck, exhausted but triumphant. Pilots and crew cheered as she emerged from the cockpit. Among those waiting was Admiral Takahashi, his normally stern face breaking into a rare smile. "You've done it, Captain," he said. "Your quantum dancing technique has changed warfare forever." Maya shook her head. "We've won a battle, not the war. Perhaps we won't have to fight one," Takahashi replied, gesturing toward a nearby comm officer. "We're receiving transmissions from 4 different hegemony species. They're requesting immediate peace talks." 2 weeks later, Maya found herself in a position she never expected, representing humanity at the negotiating table on neutral territory, the independent trading hub of Proxima Station. Across from her sat representatives of the hegemony, including a subdued subarchon Kelith of the Oravians. "The terms are simple," Maya stated. "The Galactic Concordat must be rewritten as an agreement between equals. No technology restrictions based on species age. No protective oversight of developing civilizations. You ask us to abandon 12,000 years of galactic order," Kelith replied, his scales a muted blue of resignation. "No," Maya corrected. "I'm asking you to build a new order based on mutual respect rather than dominance. Humanity doesn't want war. We never did. But we will never again accept being treated as inferiors." The negotiations lasted for days, with various hegemony species breaking ranks to seek separate peace agreements with Earth. The Oravians fought to maintain the old power structure, but their position weakened as more allies abandoned them. Finally, a new treaty emerged, the Proxima Accords. It recognized all sentient species as inherently equal in rights, regardless of technological development or time since achieving spaceflight. Military technology would no longer be restricted by species classification. As Maya prepared to return to Earth, she received an unexpected visitor in her quarters aboard Proxima Station. The Teleri ambassador Telerin, whose species had been among the first to break with the Oravian position, requested a private audience. "Captain Chen," the Teleri said, tendrils moving gently in the universal gesture of respect, "what you have done reaches beyond a simple military victory." "How so?" Maya asked. "For 12 millennia, the Oravians have convinced us that order can only exist through hierarchy, that without their guidance, chaos would consume the galaxy." Telerin's large eyes blinked slowly. "You have shown us another way, that innovation and adaptation can overcome rigid doctrine. That true stability comes from equality, not domination." Maya considered this. "We didn't set out to revolutionize galactic politics. We just wanted to be treated with respect. Sometimes the greatest changes come from the simplest desires," Telerin replied. "Several younger species have already requested to open direct relations with Earth, bypassing traditional hegemony protocols. They see in humanity a model for their own advancement." When Maya finally returned to Earth, she found herself celebrated as a hero. The press called her the woman who won the war in a day. Politicians sought her endorsement for their platforms. Military leaders wanted her to develop new quantum combat doctrines. But all Maya wanted was to see her daughter. She found Lily playing in the garden of their family home outside New Shanghai, chasing butterflies in the warm sunlight. "Mommy," Lily squealed, running into Maya's arms. Maya held her daughter tight, breathing in the sweet scent of her hair. "I've missed you so much." Later that evening, as Lily slept, Maya sat on her porch looking up at the stars. Admiral Takahashi joined her, offering a glass of sake. "The Defense Ministry wants to promote you to Admiral," he said. "You'd oversee the new Quantum Warfare Division." Maya sipped her drink slowly. "And if I decline?" Takahashi raised an eyebrow. "You've earned the right to choose your path, Maya. What do you want?" She gestured toward the sleeping house behind them. "I've seen enough of war. What I did, what we all did, was necessary for survival. But now I want to help build something, not just protect it. Such as, the Telleri ambassador mentioned that younger species are looking to Earth as a model. What if we created an alternative to the hegemony? An alliance based on cooperation rather than control. We could share technology openly, help developing civilizations without subjugating them. Takahashi considered this. The quantum commonwealth, he said thoughtfully. And you want to be what? An ambassador. Maya shook her head. An explorer. The universe is vast, and most of it remains unknown to us. I want to take the Sunhawk beyond hegemony space, make contact with species we've never met, and show them a different way of joining the galactic community. Takahashi finished for her. The Defense Ministry won't be pleased to lose you. They'll adapt, Maya replied with a smile. That's what humans do best. 6 months later, the Sunhawk departed Earth on a new mission. Exploration rather than warfare. Maya's quantum dancing technique had been taught to thousands of pilots, ensuring Earth's security. The newly formed Quantum Commonwealth already included 11 species, with more applying for membership weekly. As the Sunhawk engaged its enhanced quantum fold drive for the jump beyond known space, Maya thought about the strange path that had led her here. A simple test flight had triggered a war. The war had created a revolution, and the revolution had opened up possibilities no one had imagined. Humanity had found its place among the stars not through conquest, but by refusing to accept artificial limitations, by dancing through the quantum realm when others insisted it was impossible. New fold coordinates locked in, reported her navigator, Lieutenant Patel, who had insisted on joining this mission of exploration. Execute the fold, Maya ordered, her eyes fixed on the unknown that lay ahead. Let's see what's out there. The Sunhawk disappeared in a flash of quantum distortion, carrying humanity's spirit of innovation to distant stars.